Okay, let's unpack this. You know that sinking feeling. When you realize a small financial issue, maybe a parking ticket, an old bill, maybe a toll you forgot about, has just ballooned,
Yeah.
turned into this huge life-altering crisis.
hmm
In personal finance, is there anything more terrifying than when those small debts suddenly mean your driver's license is suspended?
It's devastating. That loss of mobility, it's more than just finances, isn't it? It hits your dignity.
Exactly. Stops you getting to work, earning money, just participating. It feels like a trap.
It really creates a catastrophic cycle, doesn't it? Can't get to work, can't pay the fines.
Can't pay the fines, can't get the license back.
Yeah, it's a total shutdown. And often from what seemed like, just minor fees initially.
Right. And that's exactly why we're going to explore the specific rules that might break that cycle.
Okay.
Our source material today is from excerpts of Chapter 33 of the complete book on bankruptcy, written by Peter Francis Geraci.
Ah, Geraci. Good stuff there.
Yeah. So our goal today is to really cut through the noise, get you the actionable rules. What can bankruptcy actually do for you with that stack of parking fines or the stress of a bounced check?
And maybe just as importantly, where does the law draw the line? Where does that protection stop?
Exactly. We need that precise distinction. Financial debt that can be managed versus, say, criminal stuff that can't. Makes sense.
Okay, let's start with that really immediate stress point. Fines. We're talking parking tickets, tollway bills, maybe red light camera fines. The big pain point isn't always the cash amount itself.
No, it's the license suspension that usually follows.
Right, which just immediately makes the financial hardship 10 times worse.
And this is where Chapter 13 bankruptcy really comes in as a strategic tool. It's way beyond just wiping out debt.
How so?
Well, if your license suspension is specifically because you owe money for these types of fees, parking, tolls, red light cameras, Chapter 13 gives you a way to get that license back, often immediately. Wait, immediately? Really? How does that work? Does the bankruptcy court just tell the state to, what, ignore the debt?
Essentially, yes. That's a really critical point the sources highlight. Chapter 13 is about reorganizing and curing the debt problem.
Okay.
So when you file, you create this court-approved plan to repay your debts over time. Once that specific debt, the parking tickets, for instance, is under federal bankruptcy protection and part of your repayment plan, the state can't use that specific debt anymore as the reason to keep your license suspended. The federal bankruptcy court's authority basically forces the state to reinstate the license. It breaks that cycle we talked about.
Wow. That's incredibly powerful. So you get your mobility back. You can actually get to work to earn the money for the repayment plan.
Exactly. It's like the definition of a fresh start built on getting organized.
Okay, but are there limits? Does this always work?
Well, that's the key thing. This license-saving power, it's generally not available in Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Chapter 7, remember, it's about liquidation, wiping out unsecured debt. It's not really a cure or reorganization process in the same way.
Right.
So since you're not offering the state a guaranteed court-supervised plan to pay back those fines over time, Chapter 7 usually doesn't give you the leverage you need to force them to reinstate the license immediately.
Okay, so Chapter 13 is the specific strategic move for this particular problem, the license suspension due to these kinds of fines.
That's what the source indicates, yes.
But this only works for certain types of government debts, right? This is the distinction that I imagine trips a lot of people up.
Absolutely. Bankruptcy deals with financial debt, but it's not a get-out-of-jail-free card for legal or criminal issues.
So you have to know the difference in the violation type.
Precisely. Bankruptcy, specifically Chapter 13, can handle the debt from parking tickets, tollway fines, red light camera fines.
Okay. Why those specifically?
Because generally they're treated as non-criminal debts. They're like fees or civil infractions.
Yeah.
More like collections or bills you owe.
So it's like the government is fining me for parking wrong, a civil thing, and they're treating that fine basically like an overdue utility bill that I can reorganize in bankruptcy.
That's a good way to put it. That's the logic suggested. It's about the state acting more like a debt collector in that specific instance.
Okay.
But the second we start talking about speeding tickets, reckless driving, other moving violations.
The rules change.
Completely. Those aren't just fees. They're tied to the state's fundamental police power enforcing laws ensuring public safety.
So moving violations, they're out.
They're separate legal matters. The consequences, the fines for those, they don't fall under bankruptcy protection.
Right.
You can't just, stick a $300 speeding ticket fine into your Chapter 13 plan and expect the actual violation to just disappear.
Yeah.
That needs to be handled through the usual legal channels, traffic court, whatever that might be.
Gotcha. that difference financial fee versus criminal or moving violation consequence, that's absolutely essential to understand before you even think about filing. All right, let's shift gears a bit. Because the problems pushing people towards bankruptcy, they're usually not just fines, are they? Often it involves that stress from maybe an accidental mistake, like a bounce check that spirals.
Oh yeah, NSF checks, non-sufficient funds, incredibly common.
And the fees just pile up, right?
They can become a huge burden fast.
Yeah.
Now, generally when you write an NSF check to a standard creditor like a store or maybe a utility company, the debt itself is treated as unsecured debt in bankruptcy.
Okay, so like credit card debt or medical bills.
Exactly, same category.
So how does that play out in Chapter 13 versus Chapter 7?
Well, if you go with Chapter 13, the reorganization plan, those NSF check debts can just be rolled into your overall repayment strategy.
Oh, okay.
You pay them off in installments, maybe pennies on the dollar, over the 3 to 5 years, along with your other debts. It gives you structure, stops the collections immediately.
In Chapter 7?
Chapter 7, the liquidation bankruptcy, might wipe out the underlying debt from the NSF check completely. Gone.
Sounds good. But there's a catch, right? What if it crosses that line? Becomes more than just debt? The source mentions something about casinos.
Yes, this is a really vital nuance. Crucial, actually. For most NSF checks, say, to the grocery store or your landlord, it typically stays a debt issue.
Okay.
But certain large institutions, and the specific example used in the material is casinos, they often have, let's say, strong pre-existing arrangements with the local prosecutors.
Hold on. Are you saying a casino gets special treatment, that bouncing a check to them is somehow more criminal than bouncing one to, like, my plumber?
What the source suggests is that some large organizations are just much more aggressive and systematic about pursuing bad checks through criminal channels. They might have agreements or processes in place with law enforcement to push for prosecution very quickly. So if writing that NSF check has already led to criminal charges being filed against you, or if the circumstances look like potential fraud.
Then bankruptcy can't help with the criminal part.
Exactly. The bankruptcy court is powerless there. Chapter 7 might get rid of the debt you owe from the check.
But not the criminal charge itself.
Correct.
Yeah.
You'd still need to deal with those criminal charges separately through the legal system, likely with a lawyer. The bankruptcy filing only tackles the financial side, not the legal transgression.
So if criminal charges are on the table or seem likely, you really need to address that potentially before or at least alongside the bankruptcy.
Definitely something to get advice on early.
Okay, this all feels a bit like a maze of rules, doesn't it? Fines, NSF checks, Chapter 7, Chapter 13.
It can be, yeah.
Let's make it concrete. Let's look at the real-life example from the source material, the case of Karen. That should pull it all together.
Right. Karen's situation was, well, pretty typical of how these things cascade. A real tangle.
What was she dealing with?
Okay, so she had about $14,000 in credit card debt. Pretty standard unsecured stuff. She had a car payment, but the interest rate was high, making it hard to keep up. Risk of repossession there. She'd bounced several checks, so she had NSF issues and bank penalties piling up.
Right.
But the immediate crisis, the thing pushing her over the edge, was $3,000 in unpaid parking tickets.
And that led to?
License suspension, which meant she couldn't reliably get to her job.
So total potential collapse. Financial plus the mobility issue. She needed a solution that hit everything, not just bits and pieces.
Exactly.
So why Chapter 13 for her? I mean, Chapter 7 could have wiped out that $14K in credit card debt instantly, right? And the NSF debt, too.
It could have, yes. But that's the key trade-off you have to weigh. Chapter 7 would have dealt with the unsecured debt.
Right.
But it wouldn't have effectively solved her two biggest immediate problems, keeping her car and getting her license back.
Okay. How so?
Well, in Chapter 7, depending on exemptions, she might risk losing assets, potentially even the car if there was equity. And critically, like we discussed, Chapter 7 generally doesn't force the immediate license reinstatement for those parking tickets.
So she'd still be stuck, unable to work reliably.
Pretty much. Chapter 13 became this strategic answer because it protected her ability to earn a living.
Okay, so how did the Chapter 13 plan actually untangle all those different debts? The car, credit cards, parking tickets, NSF checks.
It basically allowed her to consolidate all of it. The car loan, the credit cards, those parking tickets, the NSF checks, everything went into one single manageable monthly payment plan.
Okay.
The plan prioritizes certain debts. So it made sure the car loan got paid, preventing repossession. It made sure the parking tickets were paid off over the plan's life, maybe 3, maybe 5 years.
Right. And the license?
Because the parking ticket debt was now included in this court-approved repayment plan, her license was immediately reinstated. That was key.
And the overall payment, how did that work out? Bundling everything.
Often, by restructuring the car loan through the plan, maybe lowering interest, the total monthly payment under Chapter 13 could end up being similar to what she was already paying just for the car alone.
Wow. Seriously. So that one payment is now covering the car, the credit cards, likely at a reduced amount, the parking tickets, and the NSF checks.
Potentially, yes. It provides that immediate relief and, crucially, structure.
Yeah, structure seems huge here.
Absolutely. It makes staying on top of finances way easier. It ensures that NSF checks get resolved within the plan, stopping further penalties or legal threats. And, most critically, she got her mobility back. She could work, which meant she could actually fund the Chapter 13 plan successfully.
So boiling it down, what does Karen's case really show us?
It shows that for people caught in that kind of multifaceted debt trap, Chapter 13 isn't just about debt relief, it's about strategic reorganization.
Right.
It frees up essential resources like your ability to drive to work. It gives you a clear path back to stability. It lets you manage and cure those non-criminal debts, regain control, maybe keep essential assets like your car, and get your life back on track.
That's the big picture then. Bankruptcy, especially Chapter 13, it's not some magic wand.
Definitely not.
But it is a powerful strategic tool for these specific burdens, like the parking and tollway fines, like NSF checks. It helps you distinguish between the financial fees you can reorganize and the criminal stuff you can't.
Yeah, understanding that interaction, that distinction is crucial. Chapter 13 offers that breathing room, that chance to restructure your whole financial picture.
Okay. So this really raises an important final thought, doesn't it? We focused a lot on Chapter 13's power to, say, save a driver's license or restructure a car loan precisely because it lets you pay those priority debts over time.
It's about the cure and reorganization.
But the source material really emphasizes that the strategy depends entirely on your goals. Right?
Absolutely. You, the listener, have to weigh the difference.
Yeah.
Is your main goal immediate total elimination of unsecured debt, even if it means giving up some assets and maybe not solving that license issue right away? That might point towards Chapter 7. Or is your priority keeping specific assets, like your house or car, curing defaults, dealing with those license suspending fines, and getting a structured repayment plan you can actually manage? That leans towards Chapter 13.
So the most effective fresh start, it really hinges on your specific mix of debts, what assets you need to protect, and what problems you absolutely need to solve now. Chapter 7 versus Chapter 13, it's not always an easy choice.
Not at all. It requires really understanding those nuances we've talked about.